Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Hello students, I am Jitesh Gola and today we are going to start with class 11th main course book unit 1. In this unit 1, firstly we are going to discuss about the different learning objectives that we are going to learn from this particular unit. So from this we are going to understand sub-skills of reading. Here we'll learn about the different techniques of reading. These are about skimming, scanning, intensive and extensive reading. Beside that, we are also going to learn how to apply different strategies to find direct and indirect context rules, direct and indirect context clues. Then we'll learn to analyze the main idea developed by the writer, that what actually the writer would like to convey. It means we are going to learn about the global comprehension, where we'll learn to understand the given reading context. Within the same unit, we are also going to learn about how to write a diary entry. We'll talk about its format and different examples or the samples will be taken to make it more understandable. Then we'll learn to predict, infer and deduce while listening. Means when the listening skill activity is going on at that time, we need to understand that how we can get the information, we can infer the information from the particular reading part. Then beside that, we are also going to understand how to maintain the flow and control the direction of conversation when speaking. So, the different pitch that we have to use or the way of speaking while we are doing the conversation according to the need, the modulation, the voice modulation and all we are going to learn here in this particular unit. So, let's start with the warm-up exercise. Here, we are going to do the warm-up of reading and writing both. For this, we have to discuss in class. When you read a written text, do you try to understand? Do you try to understand it one word at a time? Why or why not? So, you have to do the discussion in your class and you have to read the written text over there. And you need to try to understand one word at a time. So, here you have to when you are reading the text and trying to infer the meaning out of that, you have to find out, are you able to get that word, the meaning of the particular word at a time? Yes or no. So here you have to, for this warm-up exercise, what is required on your part? You have to work in group of 4 and need to discuss that what contributes to a well-written piece. Then one mind map we are going to discuss after that. You have to find out the appropriate words for that. So, we can see one example is already given here. This, for good writing, the one example they have already filled, logical thinking. So, you all have to do the discussion and you have to find out that what are the different other features or the characteristics that can be mentioned here. I am going to discuss with you. Rest all of you have to do on your own. Whenever we are talking about good writing, clear? Writing, if we are talking about, it must have different characteristics and definitely good writing must have strong characteristics with it, which is creating difference from the other writing. So here if we talk about the first one they have given, good writing must have the logical thinking. Any other, if we talk about any other feature of this good writing, we can say it must be based on particular theme, or we can say it must be focused. Clear? While we are talking about good writing, it must be focused one also. It must have good vocabulary. So these are the few things that we have mentioned here about the good writing. The same way you have to fill these gaps and according to your own knowledge you have to mention that what could be the different other features can be added here while you are talking about any good writing. Clear? Now, Let's start with the another part, that is reading. What is reading? And definitely when we are focusing on reading, there must be some purpose behind it. Clear? When we are reading, the main focus or the main purpose is to understand what the author is trying to say, what he or she actually would like to convey to the reader. The reader is the one, those who are reading their text. We use different reading techniques to understand the variety of reading material. It is not like that whenever reading we are talking about the same sort of strategies we are going to follow. No, every time we have to, according to the text that we are reading, we have to follow the different strategies there according to the text. The way we read a storybook is different from the way we read a poster or a notice. So, here we are going to get to know about the difference in reading. That what is the difference in reading while you are reading a storybook, how is it different from the other notice or the poster writing you are reading. So, now we are going to discuss about the different strategy, that which particular strategy you are going to follow while you are reading a storybook, what kind of strategy you have to follow while you are reading a poster or a notice. Clear? So, these are the four main types of reading techniques that we are going to discuss here. One by one we are going to take. The first one is intensive reading. Here, if we talk about intensive reading, means when with full focus and by paying full attention you are trying to read something to grab the meaning out of that. Paying careful attention and reading with concentration, with the aim of complete comprehension and retention of knowledge. It means while you are reading something with full concentration and full focus and paying your full attention to that, just try to understand. For your complete comprehension means while you are trying to comprehend, while you are trying to understand it. And retention of knowledge. At the time you are reading that and trying to understand it, as well as you would like to retain the knowledge for further applications. So, that is going to be your intensive reading. We will see the example of the intensive reading. Reading a paragraph with new vocabulary. While you are reading a passage or the comprehension, and here the different new vocabularies are there. At that time, what is required? You need to, because sometimes it happened that we are not getting the meaning of the particular word. At that time, what is required on your part? You have to read the full passage, you have to read the full text, and you need to infer the meaning of, at that time you need to infer the meaning of the given new words or the new vocabulary within the passage. So, the technique that we are going to use there, that is going to be an intensive technique, because you are reading it, trying to understand it, and after that you have to keep the knowledge with you, where you can, after that you can keep the knowledge with you so that you can use it further. The meaning of the new words that you have inferred from that can be used further. So, that was the example of intensive reading, one of the techniques of reading. The next we are moving to skimming. Skimming, if we talk about, is also one of the another technique of reading. Reading rapidly to get the gist of the text or a journal overview. Skimming means when you are not trying to comprehend the full meaning of that. At that time, your simple focus on just getting the gist, getting the brief of something. When you are trying to get just the idea, you would like to take some idea out of that, that what actually it is talking about, or whatever the text you are going to read is about what. Clear? Example of a skimming, if we talk about, the another technique of reading is going through the newspaper quickly to find articles of interest. Many of you might have noticed this. While you are reading the newspaper, headlines are given. Clear? As you are opening the page or the front page, if you are going through, it is not the case that every time you are reading the whole news and just reading each and every headline and getting the idea that which is of your interest. So, in this skimming technique, what you are going to apply, that you will just doing the skimming of that, trying to get through your eyes, you are trying to get the idea that which is the particular article you have to read. Okay, all the news definitely, not all are interested in reading all sort of news. So, through skimming we are going to find out that which is of our interest, and then we are just focusing on that one. And when you have already selected the particular news here, and then you are reading that particular news, and then you are, or whatever the article you are talking about, you are reading that particular article. At that time you are going to apply intensive technique, because in that intensive technique that we have discussed just before skimming was when you are reading thoroughly with full concentration and focus and trying to get the or infer the meaning of the different new words or the vocabulary given there. Clear? So hopefully these two techniques are clear to each and everyone, intensive and skimming. Next we are moving to the third one, that is scanning. Scanning means looking for specific facts while reading rapidly. You have to read, but some data or some facts you are looking for. So that kind of reading if you are doing, this is also one of the technique of reading. If that kind of reading you are doing, that will come under scanning. The important things you are getting out. Okay. Instead of reading or instead of following the full concentration, instead of doing the skimming, only the particular data you are collecting. Example, going through a newspaper report to find specific details. If any details related to the share market or the prices of gold, if you are going through like that, or any the price of any other vehicles in the market on economic times page, so this kind of technique you are going to apply over there. Here, third one is done, scanning. Now we are moving to the fourth one, that is extensive reading. Extensive reading is totally opposite of intensive reading. Here, extensive reading, why we are doing? Only for pleasure, for passing the time also we can mention you, just for passing the time we are doing this sort of reading. But opposite of that, intensive reading, if we talk about, must be remembering that intensive was with full concentration and full focus while you are trying to grab the meaning out of that, while you are reading it to comprehend it. Here, so that is going to be your intensive. Totally opposite of that is going to be your extensive, just for pleasure or just for passing the time you are reading something. So sometime if you are reading the books, that can come under the extensive. So example, reading a storybook. Clear? So that is going to be the example of extensive reading. So hopefully all the four strategies of reading are clear to each and everyone. The first one we took intensive, the second one was skimming, and the third one is scanning, and the fourth one is extensive reading. Now let's move to the next part. Here, based on these techniques, we are going to take one exercise. So that is, let's practice based on your reading only. Classify each of these different types of text in the table that follows according to the reading techniques you would apply depending on your reason for reading it. Now, what you have to keep in your mind, you have to keep in your mind reading techniques that we have discussed just now. Clear? Now, the few different types of text are given here. Like first one we can say notice is there, directions to a place, instruction manual, advertisement, newspaper report, short story, brochure, rules for a game, tour, travel, itinerary and poem. So these are given here, and beside that, novel, timetable of classes, email from an old friend, letter from Kohima Municipal Council and social media updates on Twitter or WhatsApp. So we can see that these different sort of texts are given here. Okay, what we have to do? We simply have to classify these according to these four techniques. We simply have to put these 15 in the appropriate column. These four columns are there. Okay, So we have to decide that which particular kind of technique is going to be applied for the particular text. So let's start with that. For example, if we are going through this, first one is given notice. So we can say that when we are talking about notice, so which kind of technique you are going to mention there. While we are talking about notice, it means when you are trying to grab the important information out of that. Clear? Only the gist you want to get out of that. So that will come under skimming. Next, we talk about the second is given there, direction to a place. Direction to a place is going to be your intensive. Here we can mention direction to a place. Why direction to a place is intensive? Why not it is not a skimming or scanning or extensive? Reason, because we have to comprehend it. If we are not going to understand what the directions are given, so we might be lost. So direction to a place is something that require our full focus or full attention. Clearly. So hopefully it is clear. In the same way, we have to fill all these 15 text given according to the appropriate column. So here we can say that for intensive reading, we can mention the direction to a place is correct. Next one, instruction manuals can also come under that. Instruction manual is also going to be there. Another one, rules for a game. Rules for a game. And the next one can be timetable, that is number 12, timetable of classes. Clear? You can see whatever the things we have taken here, one direction to a places, direction to a place, instruction manuals, rules for a game and timetable of classes. These are something which required full attention and the focus to be understood. Clear? That's why we have taken all these in intensive reading. Now we are moving to the second column, that is skimming. So first one we have already mentioned here, notice. The second one we can mention advertisement. Advertisement is going to be the another one. Then we can take brochure. Brochure is going to be the third. Then another example of skimming that we can include is point 15, that is social media. Social media updates on Twitter or WhatsApp. Here, so all these are going to be there under the second column. Now the third one is scanning. Now you can see, so tour and travel, itinerary can come under that. Scanning we have to while we are talking about scanning, it means when we have to grab the information out of that, only the appropriate or the required data we are looking for. For example, if you are looking for tour and travel itineraries, so at that time you would be finding that what are the different programs, you have to know the information you are going to grab out of that. Clear? That's why we have included it in scanning. The second example can be letter from Kohima. Letter from Kohima Municipal Council. So that the point 14 is going to be the part of this scanning. Now we'll move to the column 4, where we have to mention the things related to the extensive reading, the text which can come under this extensive reading. So we can mention here short story, poems can come under that. Then novel will also come under the same, and email from an old friend, that is also going to be the part of this. So hopefully it is clear to each and everyone that these four are going to be the main reading techniques, and accordingly we have to choose that what kind of different activities can be included in these. According to which particular technique we have to go through the following activities of reading. Now let's move to the next part, that reading only. Let's learn reading. In order to comprehend what we read, there are different techniques to understand the meaning of the text. Here, and when we are talking about, we have already learned about the reading techniques to understand or to comprehend whatever we are reading. For reading, something else is also there that we are using to comprehend it. And what is that? The different clues. So we use context clues within the text to grasp the meaning, and especially when the words or the subject is unfamiliar. It happens when you are reading something and the particular subject you are not familiar with, or something new vocabulary or very different vocabulary words has been used in that particular text. So it happens that we are not able to understand. So the clue we have to follow through those words and through the sentences, we have to grab or we have to infer the meaning of the given text. Let us look at some strategies to use the context clue. So this is also one of the strategies that we are going to apply here to use the context clue. The first one is breaking a word into different parts. Sometimes it's such kind of vocabulary or the particular word is given to you which you are not able to understand. So what strategy you can apply here? You can break the word into different parts. Words that have a prefix or suffix. Prefix means if something is added in the beginning of the word, and suffix means if something is added after the word to make it as a new word. We have to recognize the given prefix or suffix with the particular word, or other compound words may be understood in this way. Sometimes the mixed words are there, the combination of the two words taken as the one word. At that time we can use this technique by breaking a particular word into the different parts and to understand or to infer its meaning out of that. For example, the first example they have given, the word given misunderstanding. For example, if you are not going to understand the meaning of this, so what you have to do, which particular strategy? The breaking a word into different parts you will follow. You have to break it. First is miss plus understanding. Now, understanding we know that might mean a lack of misunderstanding when it is added with miss. Understanding to comprehend something and to understand or to know something. Misunderstanding when miss is added, so somewhere we are getting the logic, somewhere we are getting the hint or the clue that it might mean a lack of understanding. When we are not able to understand something, so that will be taken as misunderstanding. The next strategy based on the context clue is given finding a definition or a synonym. If particular word or particular vocabulary is given to you, another strategy that can be followed is when you are trying to find the definition, when you are trying to find the meaning of that, or looking for a synonym. Synonym means the similar meaning. You are trying to get the similar meaning of that. Sometimes the explanation of the word is hidden in another part of the text, and this is also the case. It happens when if the particular word is given here, it happens the meaning of that is given in the next line or the previous line. So we have to follow that strategy to understand the meaning of the given words. For example, the days passed dolefully, each new dawn was unhappy as the last. So this is a new word, we are not able to understand it. But when we are reading the whole line, the whole particular sentence given to us, somewhere we are getting the meaning that dolefully is something unhappy, is related to something unpleasant or unhappy. The days passed dolefully, each new dawn was as unhappy as the last. It means they are talking about referring to, here they are referring to the previous word. So we are getting, so this is the technique that we have followed, finding a definition or a synonym. So this technique can be used to get the meaning of the particular word. Now the another technique is finding an antonym or contrast. Antonyms, synonym we got to know. Synonym means similar words. So antonym is going to be the opposite of that. Finding an opposite word or the contrast of something to understand the meaning of the given text to you. There might be opposite information about the words, generally indicated by words like instead of, as opposed to, or unlike. So these are the few hints that can be used to get the context clue or to get the meaning of the given text. For example, smiling when faced with adversity instead of being in position of privilege is difficult. So these two words are given here, and here the hint they have given instead of. It means some sort of comparison is there, or they might be talking about some contrast. So this sort of hint we are getting here, and it shows that one is going to be the positive one and one is going to be the negative one. So smiling when faced with adversities means here we can understand it after reading, related to some problems. Here, instead of being in a position of privilege, privilege means when you are getting the advantage, when at advantage. So in this way, by following this technique of finding an antonym or contrast, we can grab or we can get the meaning of the given word. The another technique we can take, finding an analogy. Finding an analogy means comparison are good clues. When two things are given here for comparison, it is one of the good hint or the clue that we are getting to understand the meaning of the particular given text, to the meaning of a word even. Example, she is as vulnerable as delicate flower that withers at the first frost of winter. So here we are talking about, we are comparing the two things. Here the comparison is done between the delicate flower and vulnerable, means those who are going to be, those who are very soft, or we can say the one those who are not very strong. So here we can understand the meaning of that instead of just getting stuck at the particular word, because it happens when you are reading a comprehension or you are reading a passage, many times you are not getting the meaning of each and every word, and most of the students, what they are doing, they are wasting their time on finding the meaning of it. While you are doing practice at home, it is fine. At that time you can refer your dictionary and can find out the meaning. But when you are appearing for exam or appearing for any test, at that time you don't have to waste your time by just getting stuck to the particular word. So these are the different techniques you are going to follow while you are reading a comprehension or while you are reading a text. Clear? Same, in the same way we are going to follow the another technique here, indirect context clues. That is the another strategy that we have to follow to understand the meaning of text. Providing examples of unknown words can give readers a sense of the meaning. Sometimes it happens that particular word meaning we are not getting, but the examples given to us somewhere can give the idea that what the particular word means. For example, flowers that are indigenous to India like marigold, jasmines, hibiscus are often offered at temples and shrines. So, for example, you are not getting the meaning of this indigenous, okay. But when you are looking for the examples given here, because with that like they have given the different examples, marigold, jasmines, hibiscus. So here we are getting idea, indigenous could be related to within the India, which are the things related to the country within India only. Clear? Which are not imported one, but which belongs to Indian land. So these flowers, take the example marigold, jasmines, hibiscus, all are Indian flowers. So somewhere we are getting the idea of what the meaning of this word could be. So hopefully these techniques are also clear to each and everyone. That was based on the context clues, where you are going to get the meaning, where you are trying to get the meaning of the particular words after reading the text. And you are trying to, what you have to follow here, you have to follow the different techniques to comprehend or to understand the given text. Clear? Now let's take one exercise based on that. That is, let's practice. Here, reading only. They have asked you to read the passage that follow and write the meanings of the highlighted words. You can see different highlighted words are given here. So what you have to do? You have to read the passage and without referring to the dictionary, you have to mention the meaning of these words. And how you are going to do that? By following the different strategies that we have discussed just now. Then you have to discuss your answer in pairs and tell your partner which kind of context clue helped you to determine the meaning of each unknown word. And you have to discuss that which particular kind of technique you have used here to determine, to understand or to find the meaning of the each unknown word here in the passage. So let's start with that. The first one we can see, firstly we'll read it and after that we'll come to the particular word and we'll try to grab the meaning and then we are going to mention the techniques also. Clear? Earlier this month, the first wave of floods had submerged over 70% of the park. The park director told this reporter, the flood water is starting to recede, but the pace is very slow. Mr. Singh said, it will take another few days to completely withdraw. So, that was the passage given here. Now, what you have to do? Somewhere we might have got the idea that what actually they are talking about. And these words are also giving us, although the particular meaning if you are not aware of, doesn't matter. But some clues we are getting here. So, we have to mention that strategy only, that which particular strategies we have followed here and what is the meaning of these given words. So, let's start with that. Here we can say the context clue that we are talking about. Here we can understand the first one. For this we are using break a word. The first strategy, break a word. So, how we can break this word? Like sub plus merged. And merge, if we are talking about, it means just getting mixed with something. So, here submerge, if it is talking about related to floods. So, somewhere we are getting idea that it is talking about to go under water. So, the meaning can be given to go under water here. Clear? Then the another word we can see here, recede. Now, which particular word we are going to find here? Here, which particular strategy we are going to use? The flood water is starting to recede, but the pace is very slow. Here, so here we can see that they are talking about something happening, but still it is in process, means it is slow. So, we are going to find it through the, we can mention the strategy finding an antonym. Finding an antonym means finding an opposite. So, here we are talking about the but is used here. So, according to that, we can mention to go back. To go back can be taken as the meaning, or to go down. Here we are talking about the pace. Pace means speed of water. Receding means getting down, to go back. So, that is very slow. So, through these techniques, the first one we used break a word and the second one was finding an antonym. So, somewhere we are getting the idea about these given words. The next one, the floods also damaged houses and public buildings, breached embankments. So, this highlighted word is given here in the second one, embankments, damaged roads and washed away bridges. The cost of repairing some of the dams is expected to be exorbitant. Exorbitant. This is also the highlighted word. We have to find out the meaning of this. 200 crores is the estimated bill. So, after reading this given lines, you might have got some idea that what actually these embankments or the exorbitant meaning could be. Here, now we have to see that which particular strategy we are going to follow here. For this one, which strategy we'll use? We can mention finding a definition. Finding a definition can be taken here. Here, what we are doing, we are trying to understand the meaning of that with the given sentence here. Damaged roads and washed away bridges. So, somewhere we are getting the idea that it could be related to bank constructed near dam. Bank constructed near dam to control water. So, through this technique, finding a definition, we are getting to know about the meaning of this embankment. Now, the second word, if we talk about the cost of repairing some of the dams is expected to be exorbitant. Exorbitant, 200 crores. And while we are talking about 200 crores, it is too much amount. So, here which particular technique we have used? Here we have used finding a synonym. Finding a synonym means similar meaning. Exorbitant and the cost, some of the dams is expected to be exorbitant. 200 crore is estimated bill. So, somewhere we are getting that it is too much. It means the meaning of exorbitant is also going to be something very expensive, out of expensive or too high cost, or such kind of word can be used for this. Clear? The next one, over 200 animals have perished in this natural disaster of unprecedented stature. Truly nothing like this has been seen before in this area. The dead animals include 178 hog deer, 15 rhinos, 4 elephants and 1 tiger. So, here we have to understand the meaning of these two highlighted words, and we have to mention which particular techniques we are going to use. So, look at this. Here, while we are talking about this perished, so which technique we are going to use? Finding a definition can be there. Because somewhere they have talked about the dead animals include. So, if we are talking about here, we are going to understand that what could be the meaning of this through the given sentences. So, here if we talk about the perished means dead, which is related to animals. It could be taken as the meaning of this perished or finished. Here, in this natural disaster of unprecedented stature. Unprecedented, here which particular technique we are going to follow? Because we can say the suffix and the prefix, where we have to find out whether the suffix is used here or prefix. So, here we can say the prefix is used, that is un. So, break a word technique we are going to use here. The break a word strategy we are applying here, and will mention it like this. Clear? Now, we'll try to get to know about the meaning of that. So, over 200 animals have died in this natural disaster of unprecedented stature. Unprecedented means unparalleled, which is not matching at all, means which two things are going on. Natural disaster is there, and beside that it has taken the life of many animals. So, unparalleled is going to be the meaning of this one according to the given sentence. Now, move to the next one. In the fourth paragraph, they have given the body of the dead feline was found entangled in the branches of a tree on the banks of the river. The big cat may have tried to climb in order to escape the maelstrom as conflicting currents turned the waters into a seething mass. So, here also, although we are not aware about the exact meaning of that, but after reading this paragraph, somewhere the hint we have got that what it could be related to. So, here also, which technique we are going to follow? Finding a definition. And how we are getting that definition with the next line. The big cat may have tried. So, it might be talking about that only. So, here we can take something belonging to cat family. Cat family. Any animal might be belonging to the big cat family only can be taken as the meaning. Here the next one they have given, the big cat may have tried to climb in order to escape the maelstrom as conflicting currents turned the water into a seething mass. So here again we are going to use finding a definition, the meaning we are taking here. And maelstrom, if we are talking about, we are trying to understand that they are talking about to escape the maelstrom. Maelstrom, we know that flood was there. Through that we are getting the idea that great whirlpool was there. Here we are getting the idea, great whirlpool, which means conflicting the currents turn the water into seething mass. Means this sort of movement started taking place. So somewhere it is giving us the idea of great whirlpool. Clear? The fifth one, the flood was an unmitigated disaster, an absolute instance of natural wreaking havoc indiscriminately, proving her wrath is indeed blind. So these two words, unmitigated and the indiscriminately, these two words are given. We have to find out that which particular techniques we are going to follow and what is going to be the meaning of this. So let's look at the first one, unmitigated. The flood was an unmitigated disaster, an absolute instance of natural wreaking. Clear? So we are going to follow break a word technique here. Break a word. Un plus mitigated. So then we have to find out the meaning of that. The two here we can see the prefix was used. Unmitigated disaster, which cannot be avoided or which was very disastrous one. Here we can mention about that, which does not, can take it as does not modify. It was an absolute instance of nature wrecking. Nature wrecking means creating the havoc or creating that kind of danger. Then indiscriminately, the second word is given indiscriminately. We talk about finding a, here we can say finding a synonym can be taken here. Proving her death is indeed blind. So something which is very disaster. Indiscriminately means here we can say unselectively, without doing any sort of discrimination, or even we can use the technique break a word here in plus discriminately. If we know the meaning of discriminately, when we are doing the differences and when we are doing the segregation, indiscriminately is going to be the when the nature is not going to do any sort of discrimination with anyone. Without any discrimination, everyone was under the impact of this flood. Clear? So this way you can follow the different techniques and you can try to find out the meaning of the different words given in your reading context or in your reading passages. So hopefully this was clear to each and everyone.